Jake had never been the superstitious type. He was a practical man, someone who believed in what he could see, touch, and understand. So, when he noticed a missed call from an unknown number on his phone, he didn't think much of it. It was late at night, and he was tired after a long day at work. He shrugged it off and went to bed, deciding he would deal with it in the morning. The next day, Jake completely forgot about the missed call. His life continued as usual: work, friends, and the occasional night out. A week passed, and the missed call was nothing but a faint memory, buried under a pile of unread emails and social media notifications. But then, something strange happened. Jake started noticing subtle changes in his daily routine. His alarm clock, which had never failed him, suddenly stopped working, causing him to oversleep. The food in his fridge spoiled faster than usual, and his favorite TV channels began glitching. He brushed it off as minor annoyances, but a nagging feeling in the back of his mind told him something wasn't right. It wasn't until he checked his phone that he remembered the missed call. The number was still there, untouched, as if waiting for him. Curiosity piqued. Jake decided to call the number back. He hesitated for a moment, his strange sense of unease washing over him. But then he dialed. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times, before a click echoed through the line. There was no greeting, no voice on the other end, just an oppressive silence. Jake was about to hang up when he heard it, a faint whisper, so soft he could barely make out the words. "Why didn't you answer?" Jake's heart skipped a beat. The voice was distant, almost ethereal, as if it wasn't coming from the other end of the line, but from somewhere much closer. He swallowed hard and tried to respond, but his throat was dry, and no words came out. "You should have answered," the voice continued, growing louder, more insistent. "You can't escape now." Suddenly, the line went dead. Jake stared at his phone, his mind racing. What was that? Who was it? The question swirled in his head, but before he could process what had just happened, his phone buzzed in his hand. It was a text message from the same unknown number. "You have 1 week." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. 1 week? 1 week for what? Panic began to set in as he tried to make sense of the cryptic message. He called the number again, but this time it didn't even ring. The call was immediately disconnected. Over the next few days, Jake's life began to unravel. He started seeing things, dark figures in the corners of his vision, fleeting shadows that disappeared when he turned to look. The air in his apartment grew colder, and no amount of heat could warm it up. His friends noticed the change in him, but when he tried to explain, they brushed it off as stress. As the week drew to a close, the strange occurrences intensified. Objects in his apartment moved on their own. Lights flickered, and the whispers returned, echoing through his home at all hours of the day and night. Jake barely slept, his eyes constantly darting around, searching for the source of the growing dread. On the 7th day, Jake received another call from the unknown number. His hands trembled as he answered, but this time there was no whisper, only a single, chilling sentence that made his blood run cold. "It's time." The line went dead again, but the silence that followed was deafening. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he waited, not knowing what to expect, but nothing happened. The apartment was eerily quiet, the lights steady for the first time in days. Relieved, Jake let out a shaky breath and slumped back into his chair. Maybe it was all in his head. He thought, Maybe the stress and lack of sleep had made him paranoid. But just as he was about to dismiss it all as a bad dream, his phone buzzed again. Another text message, but this time it wasn't from the unknown number. It was from his own phone, the same number he had always used. "You can't escape." Jake stared at the message, his breath catching in his throat. The phone slipped from his grasp, clattering to the floor as the lights in his apartment flickered one last time and then went out.